to this explainer. Okay, today we're tackling something literally every professional faces at some point, and honestly, it's incredibly tough to navigate. We're talking about ethical persistence under pressure. We'll be diving into some really brilliant insights from Kenneth Blanchard and Norman Vincent Peale. You know, if you've ever felt that intense squeeze of an unreasonable demand coming from above, well, let's explore how their work suggests we can hold our ground without, losing our minds or our jobs for that matter. Just let this thought sink in for a second. Character doesn't show on calm days. It shows the first morning the price of doing the right thing becomes too high. Wow, that right there, that is the absolute crux of our topic today. Because let's be real, it's super easy to talk a big game about ethics and standards when you're at a relaxed team retreat. But what happens on a random Tuesday morning? A major client is threatening to walk, and your boss is practically begging you to cut corners just to make the problem disappear. That is the exact moment, the very second your actual character steps into the light. Which brings us to Section 1, Character Shows Under Pressure. We're going to be looking at those really precarious, thin ice moments where managers typically buckle or freeze up. Moving right along to Section 2, Stubbornness versus Persistence. Here, we're transitioning into a really crucial distinction that Kenneth Blanchard makes between simply shouting no and truly standing your ground. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the vital distinction it shows. Because on the surface, saying no stubbornly and saying no persistently kind of look identical, right? Both involve a person standing in a room, firmly refusing to do something. But look at the sheer imbalance driving the stubborn manager. We've got 92% anger and this tiny, tiny 8% sliver of logic. A stubborn reaction is just full of heat. It's loud, it's incredibly defensive, and it's driven entirely by ego while completely lacking real reason. It's basically a defensive wall built out of pure, raw emotion. But let's flip the script. Look at the persistent manager here. The temperature completely flips. Now we're seeing 88% calm argument with only 12% emotional heat. You see, the persistent manager doesn't actually need to shout. Their no is firmly grounded in facts and an established standard, not some fragile ego. They aren't trying to prove they're the smartest person in the room. They just flat out refuse to lower the bar. So why does this distinction matter so much to your career? Honestly, it all comes down to one word: trust. Stubbornness is driven by ego, and because of that, it actively spends trust. Every single emotional roadblock you throw up costs you a little bit more of that capital. But persistence is driven by reason. When your team sees you calmly hold the line for the right reasons, it actually builds trust. The word no is exactly the same, but the motivation behind it dictates whether you're destroying your team's culture or fortifying it. All right, Section 3, the trap of false urgency. Let's set up a classic workplace pressure cooker scenario. Think ringing phones, unread emails piling up, and looming deadlines. Okay, let's dive into this. We've all been there. A hovering boss drops a massive project on your desk and demands it must be done by Friday. Naturally, the typical panicked response is to ask, wait, how? But Blanchard suggests reframing this with a really powerful, clarifying question. It must be done by Friday, meaning what? See, instead of just absorbing that panic, you pause the interaction, you pull the conversation right back to reality. Because let's be honest, done shouldn't mean half-baked, incorrect, or unsafe. True persistence means differentiating between a genuine crisis and just artificial pressure that's trying to stretch the definition of what done actually means. I mean, if delivering by Friday means skipping safety checks, violating compliance, or sending out a faulty product, then it isn't actually done. A persistent leader absolutely refuses to let artificial panic dilute quality. So here's a phenomenal psychological tool for these exact moments. Rely on principle, not pressure. Why? Because principle is solid and immovable. It doesn't care what day of the week it is. Pressure, on the other hand, is totally erratic. It's exactly like walking on a cracking frozen lake. Your first step leaves a fracture, the second spreads it, and soon enough, the ice is groaning beneath your feet. If you lean on that pressure and let chaos dictate your decisions, you are going to slip. But if you anchor to a principle, you can stand firm even when the ground cracks. Finally, Section 4, your 3 big no's. This is where we shift into creating a highly practical action plan just for you. And this brilliantly illustrates the strict rules for building your own ethical anchor before the pressure actually hits. Step 1, keep it to just 3 things. Seriously, a long list is just a wish list. A short list is a true boundary. Step 2, they must be your own personal boundaries, straight from the gut. And step 3, absolute non-compromise, regardless of pressure. These have to be the things you would literally rather lose your job over than violate. Let's walk through a concrete example of a manager's list. Number 1, I don't lie to clients. Okay, simple, clear. Number 2, I don't accept bribes. An absolutely obvious line in the sand. But then we get to number 3, and it's completely blank. Just focus on that emptiness for a moment. This is exactly where the exercise stops being theoretical and starts getting deeply, deeply uncomfortable. So, I'm going to leave you with this really provocative question. What is your third no? What is the one line you absolutely will not cross just to hit a Friday deadline? Because the hard truth from Blanchard and Peel is this: if you can't name your third boundary right now in the calm of this moment, you just aren't ready for your moment of truth when the pressure finally hits. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly, highly encourage you to go find your third no today.